Rhonda here from Nelson Soapery. I'm sure that you'd like to come along and see me make some of these. These are going to be my body butters when they are ready. I have already sanitized the containers because of course I have gloves on. So I thought let's go and we'll make some beautiful body butter in some vanilla scent as well. There'll be no colorants in this, there'll just be the scent, and of course all of the materials that I'm going to pop in as well. So I am using some coconut oil today, some shea butter, some cocoa butter, also some apricot kernel oil, a little bit of vitamin E, primrose oil, and I'm also going to put in a few extra pieces, but of course I will tell you what I'm using. Always look down the description box in the bottom and you'll see all of my recipes and everything that I give you. So, you know, and look, I wanted to talk about this because I get so many people saying, oh, you've missed something, or you've forgotten something. If anyone's watching to the end, I really suggest you watch to the end, because often I give you tips at the end and I'll actually give you the recipe as I go along. If I don't, then it will be in the description box. And also, you know, one bit of a disclaimer, these recipes are my own that I come up with. I'm not going to say they're perfect or the one that you should use, but just make your own judgment of whether it's going to work in your environment, in your country, for your clients, your target market. They're all things that need to be thought of, because sometimes I get people saying, well, I can't see how that would work, or you know, they might say you know, this isn't working for me, I've tried it, it's not working. Everyone's different, but a lot of this comes down to your process. And also, you know, you can take away oils and things like that I have, and you can actually change them for your own oils. But like I said, make your own decision on what you like for your ingredients. I just honestly give the recipe to help anyone that's starting out making these products, or even someone advanced if you need some of these recipes. But as I said, a little disclaimer, you know, I'm not perfect. You know, I am no chemist creating these. I just create them, test them, and I try and always better my products. So hopefully that gives you guys a little bit of background of exactly what I'm going to do. So from here, to make your body butter, you need to melt down all of your hard oils. And then once we've melted down the hard oils, which I have already done, you need your blender. You can have a stand blender, or for me, I'm going to use my stick blender. And on the end, you can see that I have an attachment that's on here already, and I've already given it a little bit of a whiz on here, because you know, you can use all different things, but this is basically just like an electric mixer. But I just wanted to show you that you don't need to have a fancy equipment to be able to make it, and you can make it really, really beautiful. So I will show you how I make it, and then I will also put my labels on the end just to show you. I have simplified my labels a lot, mostly now because I'm doing wholesale, and a lot of wholesale clients want it really basic, because some of my things are going into a number of new shops. So and I've been asked for some body butter for some shops, so be very exciting. These ones will be coming up. And for anyone that wants to order wholesale, I make these in these gorgeous little jars. These are amber with black lids, and of course you can put your own labels. If you want to order these as well from me from wholesale, do remember they will not come with my label unless you ask me to, and I leave it that way so you can pop your own on if you want to. I don't mind you using these as a private label as well, which means put your own label on. So like I said, let's pop the camera down and I'll show you exactly what I'm going to do. Let's get going for the fun. Now let's get going with the body butter. So I thought I'm going to show you a few things and tell you how I have changed my recipe and how I've actually changed the way I'm doing it, because before, you know, you just learn so much as you go along, and before I did it a little different. So what I'm doing now is I put all of my hard oils, which is cocoa butter, shea butter, and of course coconut oil, inside a slow cooker. I just melt them down and then let them cool a little bit. Don't worry too much about the cooling process, but you know, just let them cool to almost room temperature. And then what I do is I also add in my liquid oil straight away, so I don't thicken it up first. So I'm adding in my sweet almond oil, some jojoba oils, vitamin E, some primrose oil, and so on. And then I am just popping them all together and letting them sit. So you want it to get a tiny bit thick. It will be really thin still, but you know, and another trick as well, you can pop it in the fridge if you want to harden it up, but I personally just don't like to do that. It sticks to the side, it gets messy, gets hard in places, and I just don't do that. So what I do is put a piece of Glad wrap on the top, or plastic wrap, or you can even just put a piece of cardboard and just let it slowly get to room temperature and slowly harden up a tiny bit as you go along. You can use a hand mixer or you can use a stand mixer. Definitely a stand mixer is so much easier. So if you can, and or if you do have a stand mixer that is dedicated to your soaping items, I definitely say do that. Before we mix everything up a lot, I'm just adding here in a scoop of kaolin clay. This is roughly about 2.5 tablespoons of kaolin clay. And then I'm also organizing some tapioca starch, and that's going to go in it, and that actually absorbs some of the oil so that it doesn't feel as greasy on the skin. So I started using the stand mixer like this, but I just knew it was going to take so much time, and I just said, oh no, I'm not going to do that. The hand mixer. I just thought, no, let's get over to the stand one. So I transferred it all into the stand mixer. This is just a little cheap one, and you can see here how liquidy this looks, but don't worry if it's liquidy, because as time goes on, it's going to get thicker and thicker. And if you can have a stand mixer, the good thing is literally what you're going to do is put it in here, and you're just going to turn it on medium to high speed, usually about medium's better, and you're just going to pop it on and just let it spin around for about 5 minutes. So do it in 5-minute bursts. Then of course, pull up the top, just go around the sides, and just make sure that you're mixing everything back in so there's no hard lumps or anything that's missed out, and then go again. So I mixed this one for about 20 minutes in total. It took quite a long time, but the consistency honestly is so beautiful, and I'm really, really glad I did this. I really do love this. Lots of recipes on the market will be really high in butters, and that sounds really good, but that means the butter's going to get really hard. And if you don't want a hard butter, or you have a customer that's like literally they can't even dig the butter out, they're not going to like it. And like I said, with any business, you just grow. Everything you make, you learn to get better and better and better as time goes on. And honestly, it's taken me like probably 2 years of making body butter to say that I'm really happy with this new recipe. So this will be my recipe from now on. Of course, I add different things. Sometimes you might add pink clay in instead of kaolin clay or so on. But, the whole idea is pretty much the same. So let's keep on mixing all the way around, like I said, and stopping and starting in just different bursts to make sure it's really good. And I mean, look how creamy and beautiful this looks. It just looks so nice. So the one thing I'm not sure whether I said at the start, but literally once everything is at room temperature, you're just going to add it all into the pot together and literally just mix. The good thing about doing these kind of body butters, because this one here doesn't have preservatives or anything like that, so you don't need to worry or stress too much about preservatives and trying to do that, because that's something that has always stressed me. I've always thought, I just didn't want to work with, the waters and the preservatives and the possible getting molds and, growths in them, because when you add water to anything, that's when you need preservatives. If you've got an oil-based recipe, you actually don't need a preservative at all, because it doesn't have the water which is going to grow anything. But remember, if you're going to have a product that will be in the shower and get water in it, it can grow mold. So then you would need to add a preservative, but we're not going to do this. And you can also make sure you write on your labels, no preservative added, keep out of water and things like that, just to help protect yourself a little bit more when you're making the body butter. So this one, I'm not going to be adding in any mica, but if you're going to add mica in, just add a really little bit, because somebody doesn't want this bright colored mica all over their skin. And I always sort of say it's best to add, use a cosmetic grade mica rather than a synthetic when you're actually making body butters, just to, try and make sure that you're keeping this at a higher grade, and use higher grade oils. I definitely do not suggest olive oil. It's really heavy and a bit too thick to use, in something like this. Olive oil is definitely much, much better to use in soap, which of course that's what I do. So you can see now here when I'm mixing it, after it's been been in here for about 15 minutes. It's getting really thick and just really, really beautiful. I did try this on my skin. It just felt so nice. So the consistency is definitely really great. If you want to make sure that your body butter is not too greasy, then all you need to add is things like, you can add different clays in. You can also add corn flour or tapioca starch. I definitely don't suggest corn flour because that can make it a little sticky. In, you know, just my experience, I found that it was a bit sticky and I just really didn't like the consistency. Even when I first started, I sort of scrapped ones that I did and wasted it along the way. But like I said, for this one here, I've definitely used some kaolin clay. I've also used some vanilla scent as well. Obviously the vanilla that I'm using is approved to go on the skin, and you're not going to use much as well. Usually you're only going to use 1 to 5% with something that's on the skin, and I like to keep to 3 to 4%. Even if you can go to 5, I usually don't do that because it is on the skin. So just keep it really light and not overbearing, because most people don't want that. They just want to open it and smell the beautiful vanilla, but they don't want it to be overpowering. So there'd be nothing worse than getting a chocolate body butter and then someone's walking around smelling of really thick chocolate. So that's what I mean. You just have to always remember these things. So like I said, just scrape around the sides and make sure it's gorgeous. Here I've already put my piping bag in a container, and do remember every single item that you use must be sanitized. It's really, really important. Even if it's just for yourself or you're just giving gifts for Christmas, do make sure you sanitize it. You can use a bleach water solution, or you can use isopropyl and then just wipe it out with paper towel or a microfiber cloth. I actually use the isopropyl. That is definitely my choice of doing this, and I make sure that I spray the benches, the containers, the spoons, the whip container, everything that you're using, the stand mix, everything. It's just better to be safe than sorry, because you would hate to make it and then something mold grows on it and then you'll be absolutely devastated, and it would be really embarrassing if you sold it and that happened. So that's something that I always make sure that I'm really careful of. I could have wrapped this up in plastic wrap as well to make it cleaner and easier, but I thought it was a bit of a waste of lots of cling wrap, and I'm trying to use things that are more recyclable or reusable that I can reuse again, because that way it's definitely better for the environment. And I'm trying my best to just try and do as much as I can. Of course, I want my branding to be kept, but I am trying to use products or companies that do recycle, and often I recycle boxes and bubble wrap and things like that. So you can definitely do that. So anyway, all I'm going to do now is just pop it into the container here, and then I'm going to squirt it into the jars, which will make it really, really gorgeous and ready for my customers. So let's get up to the next step and I'll show you exactly what I'm doing. So we're getting everything organized here. So as you can see, my jars are here. I have already sprayed these with isopropyl and made sure they've aired out so that they are all sanitized and looking absolutely gorgeous. Next, what I'm doing is organizing my scale. So everyone's different the way they do things, but for me, what I actually like to do is put my amber jar on the scale, and then I will actually pipe directly straight into the jar. So put your jar onto the scale, tear it out to make sure that it's not showing the weight of the jar. And then what we're going to be doing is piping it into here. You don't need a fancy piping tip. I've got a fancy one, but you don't need that. You could even just have a bag and cut the edge of the bag, because no one's really going to see it that much. And then what we want to do is we want to be able to pipe it in so that we can see the weight of each jar, and then make sure each jar is exactly the same. Because if you're selling wholesale, even retail, you need the jars to be the same. And I know you're probably thinking, oh no, look how much is on the top. You're not going to be able to put the lid on, but you will. You can just basically tap it out. So once we tap it out, we're going to see what fits into it as well, and then we will start fixing it all up. The next ones that I'm going to make after this, I'm going to keep the peaks on them because I wanted that for a photo. So if you're organizing your photo, just make sure that you do all of that. And like I said, just make sure you're trying to be as neat and clean as you can, and that will actually stop you having to do too much to the jars later. Because the one thing I can tell you from making hundreds of body butters is it's really greasy, and often you have to wipe the outside of the jar with isopropyl as well, just to get any residue off before you put your labels on. So if this is for retail, all the labels would go on so that I can sell it, and mine are definitely for retail. As well as wholesale. If it's for wholesale, there'll be no labels on because my customers can put them on. But some customers do actually want my label on, and if they want it on, I'm more than happy to keep my label on for them. So that way, you know, they can just sell it with my label on, because some people actually do want the label, which is really lovely, isn't it? And I'm so lucky that people love what I do, and they, you know, I have people all the time coming up, you know, saying really lovely things, which is really nice. So, and as you get going with your business, you really start to realize, you know, that people do appreciate what you do. They do appreciate handmade products, and they do appreciate the work that goes into it. You know, I have people that search for me from market to market until they find me. And that's just because they might have used it and really loved it, which is so nice. And I'm just grateful. Some of my body butters have gone to other countries as well, not just to Australia. That was some time ago now. Some went to France. So, you know, it's just all a matter of, you know, making a branding, isn't it? And getting everything organized. But anyway, let's get going, and we will do all of the body butters and make sure they're all silky and gorgeous, and like I said in here. So I've got two different sizes. I'm doing the smaller size, and then I've got the bigger size. So on my website, you'll see it's going to start changing soon. Rather than having lots of products listed, it will just have body butter, and then underneath that it will just have all of the scents that I have with some images and so on. So but anyway, like I said, you can see that I have done the first one, and then what I'm doing is just opening the same bag up, and I'm just going to pour more of the body butter in and keep going until I finish. Also, this body butter recipe that I'm using is quite a big one. It's you know, I think it's about 1,300 grams in total, so it is quite big. If you want it small, you can definitely halve my recipe or quarter it, however you like. But obviously for myself, I'm a shop and a business, so that's why, you know, I needed to make my recipe just a little bit bigger. Now, why I'm doing this, I thought that I would just talk about something that is really, really important with labeling. I get lots of questions and people asking me about labeling. Labeling is really important because it is actually a legal requirement. Whatever country you're in, you do need to pop in lots of things. So I'll give you a couple tips of things in Australia that we need to put on them. But of course, do your own research, because I'm not a lawyer and I'm not a brand expert either. But for my body butter, I always write it's Australian made and it's body butter. You really should always write what it is, because, you know, you'll be amazed the amount of people that, you know, pick even up a bath bomb and say, what is it? Some people don't know. So that's what I do. In the large font, I always write the scent. So for instance, this one is vanilla. Then you would write in how many grams is in it. Also put your website at the bottom, so if they want to buy more, they can definitely get back to you. Then on the back of it, I do have a batch number. I also have all of the ingredients, and then I have my name and where it's manufactured. If you are manufacturing your own things at home, you do need to write your address. In Australia, that is a legal requirement that you have the address of manufacturing. So if it's at home, you need to write your home address. If you're making this in a warehouse or a studio, then you would put in that address as well. So also write your directions. You know, it can be as simple as, you know, apply a small amount to the skin and gently rub in. It might be something as simple as that. And then you also do need to put warnings if there's any warnings and so on. But I always write on mine, if irritation occurs, please discontinue use and rinse off with cool water. So that's just something that, you know, is a common sort of phrase to use. But like I said, once again, please check out your country's legals and what you need to actually write on your product. And, you know, if you want at the bottom of the jar, you could just do a circle label yourself and write things on it. I really suggest not writing it by hand. I really do suggest that you be professional from the start and actually print it out. You just can use a cheap printer. You don't need anything special to make a label. I've seen lots of people just putting a sticker on and writing in writing. It really doesn't look very professional, so I don't suggest that you do that. And you know, you can get lots and lots of sticky labels, which are just adhesive labels. I buy mine from Stanley Packaging. It's like 100 labels for $15, really cheap. And you can also get them from Officeworks as well, and the Officeworks one is like a photo paper, so it might just you know, be your packaging company or places to go. So just go to places like that, and then you'll find all the information that you need and the products that you need to be able to label professionally. So here we are, we have finished, and don't these look so cute? I know you'll probably be thinking, oh, they're out of the jar and how I'm going to put the lid on, but I can definitely do that. All you need to do is just tap it down, so you just have like a cloth underneath. You've probably seen many people making this on YouTube, and all they do is you just bang it down, and then of course it goes in there. And I know this because I have actually measured this myself as well. And do remember, the more you whip your body butter, the less you will get in the jar, and that's because it will be aerated and so on. So you know, if I didn't whip this, I could probably get 150 grams in a jar, but by whipping it I can only get 65 because it's also aerated. So, and it gets fluffier and lighter, so that is the whole point of body butter. So yeah, so just make sure you understand that bit as well. So there's the bigger jars, and of course, like I said, the smaller ones as well. So what I'll do here is I'll organize labels. I'll also take some photos. So if you're going to be doing this for your website, or you know, if you own business, you need to take photos. So make sure that you don't forget to take some beautiful photos as well with everything else. So here all I'm doing is organizing my labels. So you can see here I'm just showing you a watermelon one that I did. I'm not going to put this one on because of course it is the wrong scent to go on it, but this is all it is. Like I said, the beautiful font at the front, and that's the bit that people will see as well. You can put colors or whatever. I did have colored labels at one stage, but I just thought, look, I'm just going to go back to basics and just keep mine black and white, and that way it will suit many businesses, because colorful items don't suit a lot of businesses. So I thought, just to show you all, here's a few little snaps, and these are the photos that I've taken, which of course will be on my social media, and they will also go onto my website as well. So here I had to do the voiceover, so I'm sorry that you can see in the background my voice is going super duper fast, and that is because I just went over the top and fastened the back bit so you didn't have to be bored by me too much. So here I'm just showing you how I'm doing them. What I do with my labels is I design them all on Canva, which is free, and then after that I just print them out on my $59 printer. It's nothing special, it's just a desk sort of jet printer. Just in the black, and then I just cut it with scissors. You don't need a Cricut to be able to cut down the center of them. Obviously, make sure you measure your jars. You need to know the height of the jars and also the width around the outside, because it looks better if the label is wrapped from one side all around to the other side, and try and make it as neat as you can. I started doing this and you can see how wrong it looked on the edge, so I pulled it all off and then made it beautiful, because you really do want the labels to meet up at the end. Don't be too finicky if they're not perfect, but you know, do try and make them as neat and nice as you can, because that way they look professional and absolutely gorgeous. So that's what I'm just showing you here. A really good thing to make yourself look professional is definitely putting a batch number on, and that a batch number can just be a number you keep yourself. You can start from 1 or 2000. It can be like 2001, then 2002, and so on. So what I do on mine is I write the year. So mine is, say, 2021, and then what I do is start on 0102 and so on. So please make sure, everybody, that you are looking down in the description box on all of my videos, because down there, that is where I'm going to be adding in the recipe, and you are all welcome to use it. I have no issues with anyone using my recipes at all. That's why I'm on here, trying to help you all create your recipes. Even if you're using it to sell your products, I don't mind at all. The only thing is, obviously, I'm hoping that my recipes are not sold, because we don't really want them to be sold. We want them to be for everybody to use free of charge. So that is exactly why I'm here, to try and create a community to help people. So regardless of how much money you have or don't have, I hope you can use the recipe to really help your little business, or help yourself just make some really beautiful products for yourself, some DIY, because these ones are really easy to make. They're not hard at all. It just takes time, patience, and following the instructions that I help give on here. Anyway, thanks for listening, everyone. I will see you next time, and make sure you give me a thumbs up. Bye for now.